From Anshe Sfard Beth El Emeth Congregation, it's time to take 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.
Welcome to our discussion of Chanukah, the border between the miraculous and the natural. If we ask a question, my Chanukah, what is Chanukah? The Gemara in Shabbos, Daf Chaf Aleph Amud Beis, 21b, gives its own answer. It tells the famous story of the oil, the cruse of oil, the only one that was left. All the others were defiled by the Yevanim, by the Greeks, the Greek Syrians. But they found one Pach Shemet, Pach Echad, Shaya Munach B'chot Moshel Kohen Gadol. This one had the seal of the high priest. It was pure. V'lo hayabo el hadlik yom echad. It only had enough to last for one day. Naaseh bo nes. A miracle happened to it. V'idliku mimenu shmona yamim. And they lit from it for 8 days. That's the Gemara, the Talmud in Shabbat. The miracle then is the miracle of the oil. That's why we celebrate Chanukah. However, if we look in the Al Hanisim, the prayer which Jews for many, many centuries have said in commemoration of Chanukah, there we say that no, Masarta Giborim Biad Chalashim. It was the notion that God handed over the many in the hands of the few. The Tzedmehim Biad Torim, those who were impure in the hands of those who were pure. That God made a great salvation. That's the miracle. And when we came into the temple, they lit candles, and they established these days to give thanksgiving, presumably for what? Thanksgiving for the Tchuot and the Milchamot, for the salvations, and for the wars themselves. The Al Hanisim prayer, the main prayer of Chanukah, seems focused not on the miracle of the oil, but on the military victory. When you want to know something, and you want to know an answer to a question, when there is a conflict within tradition, we need to look in the Rambam, Maimonides, in his code, in the Yad HaChazakah. What does he say? What is his vision and version of what Chanukah is all about? There we turn to the Rambam, and he seems to start with an emphasis on the war. He gives us a background that there had been religious persecution. We were not able to study Torah and do the mitzvahs. He adds another element not found in Al Hanisim, that the Greeks cast out their hands against our money. They took our property. They also defiled our own girls. The hegemon, the leader, the general would take the Jewish brides before their marriage. And this was a defilement of the Jewish family. And then they came into the temple and they defiled it. And they made it impure. And we had a tremendous oppression from them. Till what? Until the God of our forefathers had mercy on us and saved us from them. And then, when they entered the temple, on the day when Chanukah begins on the 25th of Kislev, then they lit the menorah. They did not have enough for one day, and they lit from it for 8 days. And why did they institute Chanukah? Was it because of the miracle of the salvation from the Greeks, or because of the oil? Well, he mentions the war, and then he mentions the miracle, and then he says, and because of this, seemingly because of the miracle of the oil, they instituted the 8 days. That's what it says. And why do we light the candles on these days? Laharot ulgalot hanes, to show and to make clear for all the miracle. What does the Rambam mean when he says miracle? Which was the miracle? Was the miracle the military victory? Or was the miracle the oil? If you look in the Gemara in Shabbat as we just did, it says Naaseh bo nes. A miracle happened and they lit the candles. However, if you look in the language of the Rambam as he tells us these two stories, it's during the story of the war that he brings God into the picture. Richam aleihem elokei avotin. You know why we won that war? You know why we defeated the Greeks? Because the God of our fathers saved us. However, when he tells the story of the miracle of the oil, he doesn't use the word miracle at all. And he just says that they didn't have enough only for one day, and they lit for 8 days. It doesn't mention that God did it. It doesn't say that the God of our forefathers came about and made that miracle. And what I'd like to suggest is that in the Rambam, you have a reversal of the normative thinking. Normative thinking would say that the military victory was a natural victory, and the miracle of the oil was a miracle, out of the ordinary, out of the natural state. The Rambam, I believe, reverses it all. For the Rambam, the hand of God was most clear and omnipresent in our victory over those who oppressed us, in our ability to reestablish kingship in Israel for over 200 years. The so-called miracle of the oil, that's not so much the focus of Chanukah. That's not the most miraculous. The true miracle, the true hand of God, is in, he argues, in the military victory, in the victory of the few over the many, in our ability to turn history around from a tremendous oppression to 200 years of Jewish sovereignty, from a position where our daughters were taken and defiled to a position of Jewish dignity. If we ask ourselves, what are the miracles in life? You say, well, I don't have many miracles. I don't know of any stories in my own life that really show any kind of miracles. That's the wrong attitude. The Rambam would say that perhaps we could see God more clearly in a simple thing like you grew up, you got married, you have a job, you support a family, you have children, you were able to see some of your parents. This is a great miracle. This is the hand of the God of our fathers intervening in our lives. And as to occasional miracles of the miraculous order, out of the ordinary against nature, that is not as much something we should be focused on, something we should be looking for. The key miracles are that where we see God's hand in our lives, where God gives us the ability to have a family and human dignity. This is the greatest miracle of all. What is the line between the miraculous and the natural? What happened in 1948, in 1956, in 1967, in 1973, in the wars of Israel? Is that miraculous? Is that outside of the realm of nature? Or is it just business as usual? The Rambam is telling us that a key message of Chanukah is that we need to appreciate that boundary between miracle and natural a little more clearly. We need to see that hand of God in those normal occurrences in life, like the military victories on the battlefield, like the battlefields against our evil inclination, the battlefield of earning a living, raising a family, finding a bride, raising our children. These two, in these as well, you can find the hand of the God of our fathers. Again, for the Rambam, we see where is the hand of the God of our fathers? That's in the military victory. And as to a candle lasting longer, so may it be, and so it was. But that's not the key miracle. And the key celebration is because of Laharot Ulgalot Hanes, the miracle. And you know what the miracle was? The miracle was that Jewish dignity was restored, that a Jew reigned in Jerusalem. Today as well, we have Jews reigning in Jerusalem, a Jewish government in Jerusalem. This is the hand of the God of our fathers. This is something to celebrate. But the Meshech Chochmah says that sometimes the blessing over the miracle, it's the blessing over that which is supernatural. That's what you make a bracha about. That's what the celebration begins with, that, says the Meshech Chochmah. But the true celebration, says the Meshech Chochmah, is something much greater than an 8-day miracle. It's something that had an impact on our lives for 200 years. I would argue the same, the miraculous, which we're always looking for. We're looking for that splitting the sea moment again in Jewish history. But actually, the greater celebration, says the Meshech Chochmah, is that which our lives are on track. We have a beautiful life. That too is the great miracle, and that too requires celebration. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us here at the Anshe Sfar Beth El Emet congregation here in Memphis, Tennessee. Join us at our website at ASBEE.net. And I'd like to thank Jason Lefkowitz for making today's presentation possible. Thank you again for joining us.
This has been 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.